Hello and welcome. My name is JodieLynn Craven, founder and creator of Abundance Consciousness. And this is my dear friend, Heather Marie.
Hi, I'm Heather Marie, founder of Soulgate. Welcome to Channel Squared, where we have extraordinary conversations about everyday life topics.
We sure do. And we've been diving deep, haven't we, Heather?
Oh boy.
This is part number 2, the Matrix, corruption within the game. And last week we were talking about things like media, censorship, false flags, healthcare, pushing an agenda, government. And we just like scratched the surface of all of that, like barely got into all of the things. And today we're diving in further. Are you excited?
I am excited and a little terrified, mostly because these are conversations that you and I have that we haven't really shared with other people. So, this is kind of like being a fly on the wall of our conversation. So we'll see how many followers we have after today.
Maybe this whole thing will blow up and we'll get 1 million followers after that. Love it. Well, and speaking of fly on the wall, it's almost like a fly on the wall when it comes to the beings that we're channeling. The guides that we utilize. So since I started channeling, obviously over the last 2 years, I've asked like, what the heck is going on? And even before that, when it comes to, the financial world, what's going on, what's going to happen, what does the future look like? And they've revealed insights to me that I haven't really gone public with.
Yeah. I think that, are you going to go a little public today? Maybe? Okay, we'll see.
We'll see how much you guys can handle.
Yeah, I mean, so like last week, we kind of left off with health, the jab, the Rona. We left off with what's happening with governments and education. Where else can we go, Jodie?
Money.
Maybe we should talk about money.
Money.
All right, rip off the Band-Aid. What's happening in the financial world from our financial wizard?
I just need to breathe for a second. It's not coming from a place of being afraid, which I want to declare that now. It's a feeling inside of being exposed at the highest levels. When you tell people what you really think, and when you're a channeler and you're receiving this information. When I started channeling, I was very like timid with it, like, oh, what about this? And I would test my theories before really diving in deep to like claim my opinions and say like, this is what I've been told, and I firmly believe it with my heart, because that's a whole new layer of vulnerability. And for a long time, when it comes to money, I have felt like there are pieces of how we attract money, how we deal with money, the systems, the monetary policy, the fiscal policy, whether you're in North America, US, Canada, Mexico, wherever you are, that there's vital pieces of information missing. And, that was one of the rabbit holes that I really dove into with this pandemic. I was asked one question: how is money created? What is the impact? Second question, I guess. Second question: what is the impact of us printing money in the capacity that we are at this time? There was a statistic that I read. This was last year at some point, that 8 months into the pandemic, 6 months into the pandemic, it wasn't even that long, that we had printed enough money already at that point to wipe out world hunger. And that's where this conversation begins to go. It's like, what is the agenda? What is the point of everything that is happening? And when I look at money, I think about that phrase: in 6 months, 8 months, whatever it is, whatever the time frame is, we have printed enough money that we could cure world hunger across the globe. Okay. It's not lack of money that things aren't happening. It's not lack of donations when it comes to cancer research. Okay. And the system is crumbling.
Oh, tell me more.
Well, how is money created? Okay. What backs money? What makes it valuable? You know, everybody's talking about what the next currency will be in some circles. Some people are talking about the next hot stock tip. Everything is an illusion when it comes to money. You know, there is nothing backing our dollar except for the fact that the government has said it is valuable, and you believe it. We as a collective believe it. Okay? It used to be gold. It's no longer gold. So it's us that gives it value. And the more that we print, the more that is in circulation, what we're seeing right now, guess what happens? The price of things goes up and up and up. You guys are seeing that, right?
Oh my gosh.
Store?
Yeah. I mean, you know, like we were talking about almond milk the other day, and we may have even been on this episode when we were talking about it, but you know, almond milk, it is a resource, like it requires a lot of water to grow almonds. So, you know, that in of itself, you know, is kind of, it's probably not that great for the environment. But looking at the price of almond milk, I buy it in a quart. And a quart of almond milk was about $6. And recently, that same exact quart of almond milk went up to $9.68. Like overnight.
Yep.
I buy a quart maybe every couple of weeks. And in a couple of weeks, it went up $3. The cost of gasoline,
Right.
you know, I mean, it's absurd. We put gasoline in our car the other day, $5.09 a gallon.
Wow.
$5 a gallon. It's insane. Insane. And this all comes at the cost of printing more money. Well, just print it. Just keep printing. It's all good.
I want to come back to that in a second, but I want to read something that my husband sent me last week. Okay. Due to rapid inflation, if you make $100,000 in the year 2021, so this year, you have the same buying power as someone making $59,000 in the year 2000.
Right.
The new six-figure salary starts at $200,000, not $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, $100,000 a year salary isn't even middle class anymore. Gas is $1.04 a liter from 70 cents. Cigarettes, $17 a pack from 5. This is Canadian prices. And a $500 car payment went from a mid-level Mercedes to a mid-level Honda Civic during this time. Quite frightening. That is your purchasing power. When you said something like, let's just print more money, every single politician, left, right, red, blue, green, purple, I don't know, pick a color, it doesn't matter. They all make these promises. They all make these promises that they're going to do this and they're going to do that and they're going to do this and they're going to do that. Where is the money coming from?
Mm-hmm.
You as the taxpayer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And when they talk about debt to GDP, it's how much money the government is bringing in versus how much they're going into debt. If you were to run your household the way that the government is running our bank accounts, because that's our money that they're using, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? We would be in collections. We wouldn't be allowed to borrow any money. So when you start to look at all of these things, who creates the value or who determines the value of the dollar, the government and us, you can see how illusionary it is. When you see that what a dollar bought you in 2020 versus what a dollar buys you today, you can see how illusionary it is, how unstable it is. Did you know that there has been no fiat currency, because that's what we have, fiat currency backed by nothing except for the government's promise and your belief? There has been no fiat currency in the history, period, that has ever been successful. Ever.
Right. We have plenty of examples of that.
We do.
Plenty of examples. Plenty.
Absolutely.
So when we talk about fiat currency, is how does this relate to, this idea of the digital dollar or even, crypto or something along these lines?
Okay. A cryptocurrency is based on blockchain. For an easy, really simple, like dumbed down example of what this means is it's pieces of information linked together. That's blockchain. Okay. Very simple explanation. That is not the detailed explanation, but just so you understand, that's how it works. Things linked together, pieces of information. So there's transparency there. You can see every single transaction there ever was, ever. It's all
like in the ledger.
In the ledger, exactly.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Like old school bookkeeping, but on a computer,
right,
locked in with numbers. And don't ask me to explain that because I'm not. No, we're not going there. Okay, what the idea behind cryptocurrency to make it valuable? Because what is it backed by? It's not backed by the government. Government doesn't really like it. They've tried to sanction it and get it out of here. Because right now they're not able to tax it in a way that is easy for them. You make income, it goes through your employer, or it goes through, whatever, you get the T4, T4A, whatever. It's on the government's books that you've made this income. But with crypto, they're not regulating it. So unless you report it, they can't tax it, which they don't like at all. But what makes the idea behind crypto like Bitcoin appealing is that there's only so many coins. It's not print to oblivion. It's X number of coins are available. So there's this scarcity piece behind it, or limitation piece behind it. You can't just keep spending and keep creating it like you can with our dollar. Okay. So it's kind of like gold in that way. And a lot of the words in crypto they use terminology from gold, mining, extraction, all of these things, right? So that people can put a tangible picture into their head. The reason why gold is valuable, the reason why diamonds are valuable is because they are a limited resource. There's not that many. And as I say that, my guides are like, oh, really? That's another rabbit hole. Because is that true? Is it true that there's only so many diamonds available? I call bullshit. I do. Because in whose best interest is it that there's only so many diamonds found? You've seen the movies where they have vaults of diamonds, and the information is suppressed from the public so that it drives the price. They do this with gasoline, monkey with the price, change the dial. Illusionary. They do this with gold. Okay. It is suppressed within the market as well as suppressed within the actual tangible asset of it. Okay. So crypto is sexy because it has a limit on it. You can only have so many. There's only so many that you can buy. And once you're in, you're in. And, that's what keeps its value. But digital dollar is something completely different. There's not going to be transparency in a digital dollar. Okay. I guess one of the reasons why the government would do it, in my opinion, and obviously this is all my opinion, the reason why they would do it is for control. Okay. If now everything that you do within your bank accounts is potentially trackable. Somebody could watch that. The bank could watch that. And, there's laws and protections and stuff like that they're not supposed to give your information out, but do they? I know here, and I've heard it about, the US, that if you owe the government money, what do?
They suck it right out of your account.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Right. So they have access to that. Now, a lot of people think, well, I never use cash. So what's the big deal if it's a digital dollar? Everything's already digital. And that's really how they're going to try and sell this is, well, you don't even use cash that often. What about your babysitter? What about your dog walker? What about you sell an item in your home? Have you ever sold anything on eBay or, Facebook buy and sell before?
For sure.
Yeah.
And, people transact in cash.
Yeah. Now, all of that cash is now digital because there is no cash. So anytime you sell something and you make a profit, guess who wants their cut? Government. You see a problem with that?
Yeah. I mean, what you're talking about is the death of the side job, that dad goes out and gets to put a pot of beans on the table, the Christmas money that mom goes and gets a part-time job, babysitting some kids to, put their kids in, writing lessons next year, or you want to purchase something from somebody, the kid that's mowing your lawn. And do they do that still? I don't know. I've yet to see a kid mow a lawn, but I'm hoping someday I'll see a kid mow a lawn, but I've yet to see one yet in my life. But, the thing is, all of these things, they go away because, if the government's going to come in and take out 20, 30, 40, 60%, because with this printing and this inflation and what's happening, something has to pay for all of this, programs. And I mean, you guys see a pretty high tax rate in Canada because you have socialized medical care. You all pay into it, whether you use it or not.
That's right.
So as this revolving door continues to happen and this change continues to occur, if we just accept it as it's going to be, then get ready to fund everybody's everything.
Right. They're already talking about universal basic income. I think California was doing a pilot project, universal basic income, so that people aren't poor is essentially the way that they pitch it, so that you have extra money so you can do the things that you deserve to do. Well, if you continue to print more and more, because we don't have the taxes, the infrastructure coming in, because you can only tax so much, right? You don't have the money coming back in. So you're just inflating the numbers. You're just printing away so that you can do this universal basic income. The prices are going to be too high anyway. So it won't matter if they give you an extra $1,000. You'll be exactly where you were before the universal basic income because everything costs more. It's that hidden tax. And we were talking about corruption. That's how we got onto this conversation. Okay. But you start to look at the corruption and the manipulation, and people will say, well, they can't take away cash. They took away gold. Our dollar was once backed by gold. And then they decided, no. We'll hold all of the golds and we'll have like gold certificates. Like you can redeem it for gold. And they were like, no. You can't redeem it for gold-ish. And then, okay, yeah, you definitely can't redeem it for gold. And they cut it off. And then they fined you if you kept gold. Like you had to give up your gold in exchange for a piece of paper. A piece of paper. Mm-hmm. So you don't think that they're going to say, you give up all of your cash for this digital dollar?
Right.
Possible, probable. Okay. And then we start talking about all of the corruption that is happening currently within healthcare, and the misuse of information and the misuse of media and everything like that. And it all comes down to control. I can't remember whether it was who said it. It was Rockefeller or Rothschilds. When you control the money supply, you control the people. Right?
Yep.
So if you control people's money digitally and you decide you don't want to have a treatment, like what did we call it before? The banana pill or banana shot? You know what I'm talking about, right? Mm-hmm. You decide that that's not for you. You don't want to do that. Or you don't want to go on birth control. Or you don't want to have an abortion. Or you want to have an abortion. I don't know. Think of something. But they have control of your money. What's the likelihood that they'll just force it upon you?
Right.
You know, if they have the magic button that says you can use this or you can't use this, what's stopping them? You look at the overreach that we've had over the last almost 2 years of you can't go out. In Australia, they can't even leave their house or something ridiculous. Like you can leave your house for 1 hour. What? What? You don't think that they could and they would control your bank account? You didn't do enough exercise today. You can't buy chips today. You can't buy beer today. You can't buy whatever it is because maybe you use too much, carbon in your, which is so ludicrous to me. I can't even finish that thought because when we talk about emissions, we have a carbon tax here. And it's ludicrous because we get like minus 30 degrees, minus 40-degree winters. You have to heat your home or the pipes burst and you freeze to death. It's not, oh, I want to heat my home. It's I have to heat my home. I'm pretty conscious of not using more than I need. Like I don't live in a tropical paradise or anything like that. I came from a home where we set it at 15 or 16 degrees all winter long. No, I'm not that crazy, but still, we were conscious or conscientious of how much we were utilizing because of the cost of it, not necessarily the environmental impact, but the cost. We thought about that and we use it accordingly. But I cannot walk to a store. The closest store to me is 21 minutes away by car at 100 kilometers an hour. Somebody tell me how long that'll take me to walk there and back if I want to get something.
Well, in those type of temperatures, you
die.
It'd be rough if you made it.
Exactly. So if, we take carbon tax to the next level for those of us that are paying carbon tax, well, you're paying too much in carbon tax because you drive too much. Okay. You've driven too much this week. So you can't go to the store. You got to ride your bike. In the middle of Canadian winter, I would probably freeze to death. It's not logical. It's about control. It's about manipulating our systems as a whole and gaining control. And it's coming.
Lynette answered your question, by the way. It
2
would take
days.
2 days.
2 days.
Thanks, Lynette.
I need like a tent. Maybe I'll get like an ice fishing tent and like a little heater thing. But then again, the carbon emissions. Right? All of this boils down to control.
So if they want to control everybody, everything, we talk about this like new world order global currency. So digital dollar, let's just say in North America, where we are, this is the opportunity for a worldwide rollout because, when you look at fiat currency or any currency for that matter, the US dollar packs a pretty good punch. It usually goes a lot further in most places than the local currency. There are some places obviously where that is not the case, but for the most part, that's the case. So if they control this and they roll everybody into a digital dollar, what's to stop them from just rolling out a global currency?
Nothing. So the distinction that I want to make about the currency, the value that the US dollar holds. So when gold was taken away, the US said, it's okay. We will prop up everyone else. Brent Johnson, he's on YouTube, and George Gammon have talked about this a lot, but Brent Johnson has the dollar milkshake theory. And the reason why the dollar will continue to go up before, or to continue to go up before it falls is because it is underpinning, it is backing the rest of the world's currencies.
That's alarming all by itself on so many reasons, right? I mean,
so they've tried to shift this in the past to what's called the SDR, which is a basket of different fiat currencies, so that it wasn't just one country that was underpinning the whole system. Okay. But it's never shifted. So it's been the talk of taking, this reserve currency status away from the United States and going with this global, SDR, which is a basket of currencies. So it's more fair. I think there's UK, US, China is in there. But what happened over the pandemic is everybody needed money. All these countries needed money. And they were setting rules that you had to borrow and pay back in US dollars. Very interesting.
Very interesting.
And you start to think about the impact of what a world reserve currency would do. Well, if we had a world reserve, or we had a world currency, one world currency, that's their Build Back Better plan, one world currency. You think about what it costs for bread here versus where you are, or almond milk. Okay. There's a difference because of the currencies, but there's also a difference when it comes to another country entirely. Like, let's look at Africa. Let's look at India. It's not right across the board. It's the same. Look at Mexico. You look at drugs. You can go get the same, prescription drug in US versus Mexico, and Mexico is pennies on the dollar versus American or Canadian.
So true.
Why? Because they can't pay that price. So what is this global system or this global dollar going to do for countries like that? What's it going to do for ours? Is everything going to go up? Okay. What will it do? And then who's going to manage it? Do you think that US and China and, all of these other places are going to be okay with we share the dollar, it's all the same for everybody? But who has control over it? And that's a really good question too. Who has control over our financial system as it is right now? Federal Reserve? Who owns the Federal Reserve? Who owns the IMF?
Do we actually want these people managing the money? I mean, I think about how my country manages their money, and I think, good Lord. I mean, when there was the big healthcare thing here in the United States, where we went from privatized healthcare, private insurance healthcare, to a group, everybody can get on it. What do they call that? Why am I not thinking of the word?
Obamacare?
Anyway, Obamacare. Yeah. There's a phrase for that type of healthcare. But anyway, it's where everybody could get in, no pre-existing, whatever. And the thing is that when they started the exchange and everybody went onto the exchange to get their insurance because it was so much less expensive, my initial thought was, where are they going to get the money to fund everybody else? Like, they can't even manage Social Security. Why would we let them have charge of our health insurance? I stood my ground, until I got married and stayed on my private insurance, even though it tripled in price the minute the exchange came out, because the exchange needed young, healthy people. I don't even use the insurance. I see natural doctors that charge cash. So, but you have to have it, because if you don't have it, you get penalized during your tax return. So I continued to pay my own private insurance until I got married. And when I got married, I went on to my husband's plan. And the thing is that's so ridiculous is when people look at how these programs are being ran by their government, do we really want them in our bank accounts? Do we want to just be like, oh, here's my purse, take whatever you need and just give me whatever you think I need? You'll owe nothing and you'll be happy, they say.
You want to go down that rabbit hole?
Hell yeah, let's go.
Okay. People say it's impossible. How can you even do that? I watched a video. I'm going to give him credit. George Gammon did a video on how they could potentially roll this out. And all of my spidey senses were like, bing, 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 bing. And we're starting to see it come to fruition. This video isn't very long. It hasn't been out that long. So go check out his channel. He talks about that, but he talks about 3 different ways. Number 1, okay, capital gains, unrealized capital gains. Okay. If you were charged capital gains tax on your primary residence and it was now rather than when you sold it, which the talk of conversation as of late has been capital gains. I mean, here they're trying to change it from 50% to 70% taxable. Okay. From 50 to 75. How long before they start taxing unrealized capital gains? How long before they start taxing unrealized capital gains on your home? Then what? You own a house and this boom has happened, okay, which is also a bubble, in my opinion. It's a bubble. We are higher in prices now than we were before the great financial crisis. And it was a problem then. Why is it not a problem now? Great question. Where do we have to go? Stock markets went up 40 to 80 or 40. Some stocks, some funds went up 40 to 80% last year, depending on which industry you're in. Where do we have to go? Okay, so unrealized capital gains. Capital gains are on non-registered accounts, open accounts, like it could be, you have stocks, and when you sell them, that's the way it works here. When you sell them, then you're going to have to pay the tax. They want to change that now. So you don't have to sell them. You still have them. You just pay the tax now. You want to do that with your home. So if you had a home that was $150,000, that was the purchase price, let's just say, for easy math, and now it's worth $300,000. You have $150,000 capital gain. Okay. And you have to pay 50 or 75% of that, depending on what they decide. Where are you going to get the money?
Right.
Okay. So that was one of his theories, was that, okay, well, some people are tapped out on what they can borrow, with inflation running hot, and they're saying that this is temporary. I'm doubtful. I do not think it's temporary. But okay, inflation is running hot. The only tool the Fed has really is to hike interest rates. So now, because of interest rates, you can't afford to borrow the money. What are you going to do? Or maybe the government swoops in and just says, I'll take care of you. We'll give you this money, and we'll technically own it. They're actually starting to do this now, where they'll give you a portion of your down payment in Canada, but they own a piece of your home. And people are like, this is amazing. It's a slippery slope, my friends, a slippery slope. Okay, they own it, and now you rent it from them because they've given you this loan for the capital gains. Wow. That's one way. Or what else is the rage today? The environment. I think you and I were having this conversation about what the UK is implementing right now. Were we having this conversation? Yeah.
Maybe, probably.
Okay. So to refinance your home or to sell your current home, it has to be up to environmental standards. So you have to do all of the repairs, all of the upgrades, everything like that before you sell or before you refinance. The properties in Europe are like really old. Like there's places that are 100 years old. How are you going to get that up to new standards?
Right.
A lot of money. Oh, don't worry, we'll pay for it, and then you can rent it from us. And then the third way that he talked about, which is possible, and maybe all three. I've never actually channeled this to see which one specifically, and I can in a second. But the third way was another housing market crash, another crash like we saw in 2008. How many people walked away from their homes because they lost their jobs or they couldn't afford to pay the payments anymore? The interest rates went up, whatever it was. There's so many people that foreclosed on their homes. So if there's another bubble that pops in the housing market, and then they're like, oh, hey, you don't have to foreclose on your home. We'll just buy it from you and you rent from us. Yeah. But who makes the rules when you're renting? The landlord. Yeah. The landlord. You'll own nothing. I don't think you'll be happy though in the long term. Whew. Okay. We have so much more to cover. The last thing that I want to say on the financial side of things is that two things. People are worried about obviously their savings, their life savings. Like this is a conversation that you and I have had. What's the best investment? Is it the stock market? Is it cryptocurrency? Is it gold? Is it silver? What is it? From everything that I have channeled, it's what you believe will be the best investment for you. So if you're feeling good about something, you're feeling certain about something, then follow that intuition. Okay. Because at the end of the day, this is point number 2. At the end of the day, it will not matter. There will come a day in history where currency, in the way that it is, the paper money that we use today, will no longer exist. The currency of the future is not crypto. The currency of the future is frequency. Your frequency and what you provide to the world. You will see it happen. I've been talking about this for the last 2.5 years. I didn't realize what that meant. What if there was no money? Was the question that was posed to me. And I remember telling my dad this. And you know what he said? It won't matter, because if everything you need is provided, then what do you need money for anyway? The universe always provides when you believe that it provides. And that's a part of really seeing this matrix. Heather, you and I have had in-depth conversations about this. The matrix isn't just the corruption that you are seeing. That's a piece of it, but it's not the whole game.
It's not. And I think that, just to put some smoothing of edges on the financial conversation before we move to the matrix, that, any boomers that are watching this are probably, having heart palpitations thinking, oh my God, my investments, I've worked my whole life for this.
I'm going to cash them out. That's not what we're saying.
That's not what we're saying. That's not what we're saying.
Not what we're saying.
What we're saying is, what if the currency is just vibration, how you serve one another, the love that you provide one another, to your community, to your neighbors, to the strangers that you just met on the street. I see extraordinary people all the time doing wonderful things for one another, and they don't know each other from Adam. Because deep down inside this meat suit that we're all carrying around is a bright, shiny soul that is nothing more than true, clean, pure love.
Yeah. 100%. And the things that stop us from giving from that place are this feeling of not, like, the exchange not being fair, not being right. I won't get what I need. It's a fear that was injected into this corruption. It's an ideology that that has been perpetuated within you. It's not true. Giving does not mean that you're giving up something. Okay. Think of yourself as like a renewable resource or a never-ending waterfall. You have, the more love you give, the more love you are replenished with, and the more you can continue to give. It's not a limited resource. You are unlimited.
And the universe is unlimited.
Yeah.
The abundant universe is unlimited. So when we look at the matrix, like as a whole, we talk a lot about, just this morning, we were talking about the matrix and about the corruption and how it's easy to look at the corruption as, oh, this is the matrix. And the matrix isn't the corruption, like you just said. It's just a piece of the corruption. Just a piece of the matrix, right? Yeah. Corruption is a fragment, a program running within the matrix. So when we have to actually say, what is the matrix? What is it? What do we know the matrix to be? And how are we actually in it?
It's a brilliant question. The way I see it is the game. If it was like actually Monopoly, this 3D version of me is my game piece. And all of that is the game, is the matrix. And there is the soul of I that can reside outside of that. That is the one that moves the game piece and decides how we're going to play the game. Are we going to have fun? Are we going to be really serious? Are we going to be scared at every turn? That's a choice that you get to make. But first, you got to see that it's all the matrix.
It's all the game.
It's all the game.
You, me, this show that we're doing, this is all our game. It's all our matrix. How we experience life, everything that happens to us, everything we buy, touch, feel, know, all of that. That is the matrix, and that is the game. The illusion of the matrix, the illusion within the game, this veil that everybody talks about, this is the visibility, the seeing, the understanding that you are in the game.
Yeah.
And that you can choose something different. Yeah. Just because you're sitting on Park Place doesn't mean anything.
That's right. Yeah. You could draw a card that says you have $1 million and now you can buy all the railroads.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the greatest thing about it is by understanding that the veil, the illusion, the game, by seeing all of this, you're free. You are free. Nothing controls you. Nothing's controlling the game. There might be some corruption in the game.
Sure.
But you are in the driver's seat controlling your game piece. If you don't like it, change it.
Choose another one. If somebody is stealing from the bank, choose a new banker.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Choose another form of currency.
And it's okay to back away from the playing table. Pick up your piece and back away and observe the game for a while if you need to.
Mm-hmm.
But by being the observer, you are the one in control of your own game.
Yeah.
You control the matrix. It's not controlling you.
Yeah. What a different world we would live in. What a different game we would play if we knew we could make up all the rules. We can be in
as
or
you
out.
go.
Yeah, as you go. You can be in or out. You can decide, I want to play. I don't want to play. I want to play again. I don't want to play. You know, whatever it is, you get to choose. And that is a really difficult concept to wrap your head around. Wow. Just a game.
Just a game.
Just a game.
I'm curious to know how our guests are absorbing that.
Yeah.
How they are, how they're, yeah, like, I mean, how are they feeling, knowing that they have complete and total control over their game piece? So you guys drop that in the chat when it catches up to you.
That's right. I want to check in too with my guides, see if there's anything that they want me to talk about. Um, the timing of all of this is divine. There is a reason why I haven't spoken about this publicly in the past, because it wasn't divine timing yet. You know, there's so many examples of how this exchange is happening right now. Even when, you know, COVID first came out, there was lots of Facebook groups on, do you need someone to bring you groceries? Do you need someone to take you to doctor's appointments? You know, it's that cultivation of coming together. We're seeing communities come together, and as people are awakening and seeing the corruption within the game, seeing these distortions and manipulations play out, people are coming together to be a part of communities. And that's why we're going in this direction, because that is the exchange of frequency. You being a part of a community and giving and receiving and giving and receiving, and, you know, giving of your heart and all that you have, and somebody giving back to you in return. That is new earth currency. That is the way of the future. And that's why it's now is the time to talk about it.
And wouldn't it be so fun? And I've had this conversation with obviously my parents quite a bit. But you know, because they're baby boomer age, and you know, they've worked their whole life for what they have, and you know, rightfully so, they're scared, you know. But you know, and I think that we've had conversations come up in events and whatnot about, well, how do you, if this currency is going to be vibratory and people are just going to do things for one another, how is it that, like, how am I going to get this thing or that thing? So let's talk about this in the frame of beauty. Okay. Because I think that's fun. So yep. You want to have a facial, and you're like, I really want a facial. And the facial, and you have chickens. You have chickens, but you need a facial and you only have chickens. Wouldn't it be fun if your facialist needed a roof and the roofer needed chickens? You could go to the roofer and be like, hey, I'll give you some chickens if you'll fix her roof and she can give me a facial. Boom. Everybody gets what they need. And it comes from a place of love. It's, I need this thing, you have this thing, but you told me that you need this other thing. So I'm going to go help you find this other thing because you really need that thing. And oh, that guy actually needs what I have. So I'm going to do that. Mm-hmm. And I mean, and I'm using tangible goods here, right? Yeah. This could even be, you know, not chickens and roofs, you know?
Maybe you want to go on vacation. That was one question that was posed in one of your summits. Like, well, what if I want to go on vacation, or like whatever? I've seen people within this pandemic offer to fly on a private plane to go pick up people in other countries because they didn't want to fly commercially because of the jabs and everything else that are going on. They didn't want to do that. People come together when there's a crisis. So why not come together when there's joy, when there's love? There's people out there who love to fly because they love to do it. I love to ride horses. My dad loves to, you know, have people over for sleigh rides and horse rides and things like that. He never charges people. He just loves to do it. He loves to have people gather together and be happy and be merry. That's kind of my parents' thing, is they love to do that. They love to cook and host people and have everyone come together. That is the way of the future. And I could hear people say, well, what about things like gas and the oil and the maintenance, and that stuff is expensive and da 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 da. Okay, is it expensive because it's impossible to create something else that is more efficient, or is it expensive because that's where more profit is?
Ooh.
You know, we're talking about environment. Back in the 80s, there was a car, don't quote me on this, but there is a car that was operated by water.
Yes, there was.
And I believe the emissions were oxygen.
Yep.
Yeah, patent
or
holder.
hydrocarbons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
The patent holder mysteriously, gone, patent missing. You think about the suppression of information. There's a video that I was watching talking about electrical currents and using frequency and water and, buildings and things like that to generate electricity. There was a guy who set up like a little contraption underneath a power line and was like catching the free radicals, the stuff that just naturally is expelled from these lines, and had free power. There's other ways to do things. But the question that, I always ask is, why aren't we doing them differently? Profit. Profit.
Right.
It's not profitable. It's not profitable to set up a network of people who have solar and paying it back to the grid so nobody needs to pay for, electrical systems. Like solar is inefficient here in winter, or it's not as efficient. But it's not profitable for big corporations, these elites. I'm saying it, putting myself out there, for them to do this. It's not profitable. Even when we look at the pandemic, to take a 98-cent drug that's already been approved, a Nobel Prize winner drug, nothing wrong with it, and use that versus something that's new and shiny and costs billions. This isn't about health. This isn't about the environment. This is about money. It's time to wake
Which
up.
has no value. I think we've already established.
Which has no value. Yep, that's right. We have another question here too, before we wrap up, because I know we're cutting it close. Lynette says, do you think the new currency of frequency will hold the old currency values, $75 facial? No, I do not think so.
I don't think so either. I think it'll be whatever you need.
And I think it will be based on what you feel, I'm trying to think of a quick example, somebody bringing me lunch when I'm really hungry, or, whatever. You think about something that someone has done for you out of the kindness of their heart. You bought me this camera. Love it. Amazing. For my birthday, think about the nicest thing that somebody has done for you, and then the value that you would attach to it. It's probably more than the dollar that it cost, or the dollar amount that it cost for that good or service. You value it because it came from the heart. It's a completely different valuation system.
Yeah, I mean, you think about, for those who have kids that are listening to this, your little munchkin brings you some artwork from class the first time, or makes you a Mother's Day card, or makes you a Father's Day card, or makes you something at school. That macaroni on that card is the most precious resource you've ever seen. And all it is macaroni. And a little bit of glue. But it's the intention. It's the intention. It's the love. It's the energy that was put into it. It was, I want to make my mama something so special.
Yeah. I want to do something nice for someone. I think that we get so hung up on the dollar value of things and not having a perfect or equal exchange. But when you start to look at it from that lens of love, of them giving of their heart, even when it wasn't a thing. I asked this in my courses of, think of something valuable that, the most valuable thing someone has done for you, or the most impactful thing someone has done for you. Was it give you a pile of money? No. It probably had nothing to do with money. It's probably so far out of the spectrum that money had nothing to do with it. That's valuation of the heart. That's new earth currency. That's where we're headed, folks. And it's gonna be better than you could ever imagine.
Amazing. I can't wait. It's going to be extraordinary for sure. And you heard it here first on our channel.
Share with your friends. Make sure that you like this video, that you come back, you comment, you share with your friends, you subscribe, hit the notification bell. We've got so many amazing things coming. Kat had said, I feel safe and supported amongst the chaos. Perfect. It's exactly what we want you to feel when you come here and hang out with us. Our mission is to help people through this, to help with the ascension, with our individual gifts. Heather is a brilliant trans channeler that helps entrepreneurs, leaders of this world understand what their purpose is, which is huge. The light workers of the world need to come see Heather. Oh my goodness. It's time for them to show up. And of course, I teach about consistently attracting money and the energy behind money and where we're headed. So check out our links, follow us on social media, share our channel, share our message, because together we will truly change the world. That's what we're here for.
We're here for it. Bye, y'all.
Bye. I love you.